Anyway, let's jump straight into this card. Let's start at the top. Have you seen anything online in training camps? Because we speak about this all the time. Anything that's put online by each camp, you can't really look into. But have you seen anything that will give you a little bit of insight into maybe how this one will go and what these guys are working on?
No, not particularly. I think Conor always does a good job of looking good, and like he's training hard on Instagram, and then we usually find out post fight how whether he really was or wasn't. And again, he looks in shape and he looks like he's training hard, so hopefully
Does look
he
in
is.
shape,
But
yeah.
yeah, we don't know. We never do. We'll find out during the fight, like quickly enough. But yeah, the last cup for me coming into this, like the questions are still the same about Conor McGregor. I don't really see how you could have any confidence in picking him. Um, this is again, like I think I said, I remember talking about it in the rematch there in January. I said the theme of this fight is questions because there's just so many questions over Conor McGregor. I think that's even more amplified now given the last fight where he just focused on boxing because boxing wins MMA fights apparently.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I haven't seen a whole bunch online. Not that I've been really looking because, as we said, you can't really learn too much from it. But a couple of things that I've thought about, and I guess what's good for both guys. So, if you're a Conor McGregor fan, what I will say is it is interesting that this is the fight that he's looking for, and this is the fight that he wanted because we know how famous he is. We know that he could fight a broomstick and make a shit ton of money. And assuming that the reason he's sticking around is the money, and I think that's the one of the biggest reasons. Like I know a lot of people are saying, "Oh, why does Conor McGregor still fight?" And I think rich people still like money, even though they have a lot, so they stick around. But I think Conor could fight anybody really, and make a similar purse than what he's gonna make this time around. So if you're a Conor McGregor fan, and he went out there and lost pretty devastatingly to Dustin Poirier, but still wants the rematch, still is putting himself out there. I guess you could read into that you should have some confidence that he is still ambitious enough. He's still, I guess, like he's still putting in the work, or at least he feels he's putting in the work that can beat these top guys because he doesn't really have to fight these top guys. So I think there's that. There's still some talk as well about like the mental game, like there was the last time. Of course, the last time Conor didn't really do any trash talk. There was none of that. This time I feel like there might be a little bit more, and I know Conor put up a screenshot of Dustin Poirier's wife or something. It says like messaging him on Instagram. I don't know what the fuck, but
Yeah. He
I
sent a little. Did you see the little voice note he sent on Twitter as well, or
no,
something?
I didn't see that.
Where he was like, yeah, it was like Dustin, I'm coming, or something like that. Yeah, and because he hasn't done any media in the run up to this fight as well, Connor, which is interesting as well.
Yeah,
Something we've seen Ronda Rousey do in the past. Connor's done it in the past as well,
yeah.
where he hasn't done a whole pile of media in the run up to
Well, he
fights as
had a
well. So
fight
that would
cancelled
be,
because he didn't want to do a press conference before.
yeah, yeah.
So
So that probably does bode well. In fairness, the one thing I probably wouldn't question with McGregor is his want to fight, like, because again, he doesn't have to, but he's still showing up. I do actually just believe that he just loves fighting. So yeah.
I agree with that. But on the mental side of the game, do you see that playing a part? Last time it didn't, but there was no trash talk. But this time, I think it's going to be a little bit more heated. But do you see that playing into anyone's advantage?
I don't know. I find it hard to believe now that Dustin, having had the success he had in the rematch in January, and not letting Conor McGregor get into his head like he did for the first fight. I find it hard to see how he could revert back to that. Do you
I
know what I
agree.
mean?
No, I agree.
I don't see how you could revert back to that. I would expect McGregor to be a little bit more trash talking this time around. And I think there will be a little more spice to this whenever they do a press conference, given the talk about the charities and stuff a couple of months
Yeah.
ago. I think there'll be a little bit more spice to it this time. But I don't expect a whole pile of trash talk either. Conor can't really. Well, he'll talk about how he got the first takedown and stuff, or
Oh, yeah.
Dustin went for the first takedown. I did. Was it? He said first one to shoot is a dusty bitch or something like that. So
Yeah, yeah. Which is
yeah,
silly. It's
yeah.
MMA.
It's that's trying to goad. And to be fair, goading Dustin into a gunfight would be a good outcome for McGregor as well. So I gotta respect that as well.
Yeah. On the kind of, Conor being up for this one, and I think that's the narrative going into a lot of Conor fights.
Yeah,
PT actually made a good point in his MMA on Point piece. I was watching it yesterday, and it stood out to me because I haven't really seen someone put it this way, is that he thinks that the Conor of the past and the Conor of today would probably look at each other and be envious, like in different ways, which I think is true, because I think the Conor of the past wants to be that rich magnate. He wants to be that really powerful guy. But I do think this Conor now will look back at the guy who was coming up, who was really hungry and really committed to the game, and think, you know, I'd love to have a bit more of that, because I don't think that's a switch that you can really have. I don't think you can just say, I'm going to be 100% motivated now like I was 5 years ago.
On the come up,
Yeah, I don't think you can do that. You can get yourself motivated, but I don't think you can put that, you can't turn that switch and you can't go back. So I think that's an interesting one as well, an interesting point.
Yeah,
and I think,
I mean, I don't doubt the motivation is there, but the hunger,
it's
the
different.
hunger just can't. It's different, and I see now he has kids to feed as well, which is another element.
Yeah,
of course, but that hunger on the come up when he was the kids on the dole, like it's just different. And it's not to say one is more or one is less, but it's just different. I think that's a good point by Pete. I hadn't heard it put like that as well. I did watch an interview recently with Kamaru Usman, and he was asked about Conor McGregor and the fame and stuff, and I thought he said something that was interesting. He said Conor McGregor living that life, it's hard. It's a hard life to live.
yeah.
I mean, if you've seen the videos of him in his Lamborghini, I think it was the other day, with just surrounded by hordes of people, he's just out for a drive. Like,
Yeah.
it's a hard way to live as well. Like,
yeah, you'd wonder as well how.
I know that's the life he's kind of gone after and stuff, but once you get there, you can't go back as well if you don't like it.
That's true. Yeah, I wonder how much of that Dustin Poirier has got. It's definitely not to the level that Conor's got, you know. But I think since his last fight, since beating Conor, I do see him popping up on different things like Hot Ones and stuff like that on YouTube, and he's definitely
get me on Hot Ones. That'd be great.
Yeah. So I wonder if he's getting a little bit of that. But I still see Dustin as the more hungry fighter, and kind of as you put it, like I think Conor is hungry, but it's not to the point of where it used to be. It's a different kind of hunger, and I see Dustin Poirier having that as well on like the whole mental side of the thing, not just, you know, having a strong mentality leading in, but there's also having a strong mentality during the fight. And I think that's some, you know, that's one point of criticism that a lot of people have for Conor. You know, when the going gets tough, he kind of gives up, or at least he I don't know if gives up is the right word, but you know what I mean. And
yeah, I do.
That's not really in Dustin. Dustin's a different guy.
Yeah, it's a fair point. I mean, I don't even know. I agree in that. I don't know if give up is the right word, but we just haven't seen him. We just haven't seen him have had a really tough one out like that in the past. Like maybe, I don't know, Adesanya against Gastelum, or I'm trying to think of fights. There's loads of them. I can't think of any to hand. But
Diego Sanchez, every fight apart from his career.
Yeah, we just haven't seen it, and maybe this is the one where we do see it if they get involved in a slugfest where they both get hurt. Maybe this is the one. It's hard to see at this end of McGregor's career where he suddenly starts to show it. And I mean, the leg was beat up and wasted in that last fight, so that was the explanation there. But Dustin's just the most reliable and consistent lightweight around at the minute, really.
Yeah, and you could see how much he had grown mentally as well in that fight. The second one, because like, I mean, when he was tagging Conor, he was almost acting like the way Conor used to act when he was I think he hit him with wasn't it the counter left hook or the counter right hook, and then pointed at him kind of Nate Diaz style.
Yeah,
was
like, I got you. Finger at him,
I got you. And I think that plays into it as well. But it'd be interesting to see, you know, the different styles and how they come in, because there was a lot of talk about Conor's stance, and I think it's a little bit overplayed, but I do think it's true. I mean, it wasn't that he changed his stance exclusively for this fight. He's used that stance throughout his career in different fights. It's just when he fought Dustin specifically and fought Jose Aldo, and I mean, most of the times when he used the kind of karate-based style was actually at 145. He hasn't actually used it a whole bunch at 155 or 170.
He only fought 3 times at 155.
3 or 4 times, or 170. I mean, we haven't really seen it. Like, his style developed into this kind of new, more boxing heavy style lately. But I mean, if you watch any breakdown, and I'm not going to pretend to be kind of more knowledgeable than the likes of Dan Hardy and Jack Slack and stuff. But watching theirs, they all seem to go back to the same conclusion of, yeah, Conor needs to kick a lot more. Conor needs to be
Yeah.
move a lot more. And I completely agree with that. He can't have that same style standing in front of Dustin.
But the thing is as well, like, as long as he, even previously when he did use that stance, the calf kick just wasn't as prevalent in MMA as it is now. And so you can't get away with it. You can use that stance, but your leg it can't be a stationary post just sitting there to be hit like it was in that last fight. And he didn't even really check the kicks at any point.
He tried to check it like he normally checks it, like, because most people go inside because he fights normally orthodox guys, not southpaw guys, and he tried to just check it normally. But I think there's a really fine line. Like I was watching, as I said, Jack Slack's breakdown of checking the low calf kick, and it can be done, checked normally, but it's very difficult because there's like a fine line of you checking it and you not, versus if you're doing an outside leg kick kind of to the thigh where normally that's where it goes, it's much easier to check those. So it can be done, but I think the best option is to get away from it, move.
Just move. I mean, he was very hittable in that last fight. He was just in front of Dustin and not really moving, and I say he was moving, but like he was very stationary while in front of Dustin and that, so it wasn't, he's going to have to be a lot more mobile in this fight to actually get a win. He's probably, I would expect him to use a lot of leg kicks this time himself to mix that up. And even the leg kicks, throwing the leg kick is a fine balance between actually hurting someone and hurting yourself, because if you catch shin on shin, that is painful.
Yeah. At least with the low calf kick, there's not as much risk of that. But like, I mean, Conor does have the right weapon to counter leg kicks. It's the left hand. Again, a little bit more difficult with the calf kick, but can be done.
Even the left hand, though. I mean, Dustin knows he can take those shots now, so he's really going to have to catch him off balance or moving backwards or something like that, you would think, to knock him down, because he did land a lot of good shots in that first round last time. And to be fair, Dustin has said that he was hurting that first round. He's just able to weather that storm a lot better now, which is really interesting going into this one as well. Yeah,
it is. And I think you have to give Dustin some credit as well. I mean, Conor comes in with that kind of more boxing heavy stance, which is true, but once he took a couple of those kicks, he couldn't really revert, he couldn't really revert to a different style because his leg was shot. So even if he wanted to change it up, I don't think it was possible at that point. In terms of like betting and stuff, do you see anything interesting? Because I know you're doing some previews for Paddy Power and all.
Yeah, I've been flogging this fight like a dead horse. So Paddy Power and Betfair this week, I have 3 previews out. They're all along similar lines. And look, I was going to do it between the lines this week for this card, but I've written so much about this main event that I never wanted to be doing this much betting content about stuff. I kind of just wanted to make it as conversation and stuff, so we'll do a little mini one here as well on the fights. But yeah, there is some interesting stuff there. I think at the minute, I'd really struggle to be backing McGregor at those prices. There's just so many questions. Like, if you think about how a price is constructed and everything that goes into a price, all I see is just questions about McGregor. There's no certainties really in that price that you could look at and hang a hat on.
Yeah.
Whereas in what's essentially priced as a pick'em, you have a lot more certainties in that Poirier price. So you have, I'd be happy to take that small bit shorter price, it's like 0.2 shorter.
Yeah.
I'd be just happy to take that because I know there's a lot more certainties in it. And the fight is priced a lot more correctly this time around. I mean, 3-1 about Poirier last time. Jesus, happy Christmas, lads. How are you? We're not going to get a gift like that for a while, so it's just priced a lot better this time, I think. But for me, I mean, you want as much certainty as you can in betting. You're never going to have everything, but like, there's just a lot more certainty in that Poirier price. I would want a lot more compensation. I say a lot. I would want around 6-4 plus.
Yeah.
To acknowledge the questions I would have around McGregor before I'd be backing him. So that's my opinion on the fight winner markets. The previews I done then for Paddy and Betfair over 2.5 rounds, I think, is a really interesting looking bet. I do see this one going longer because I don't see either of them sticking their legs out for too long to be chopped down.
Yeah.
And that was the downfall of McGregor in the last fight. So, I mean, if either of them in the last fight, if McGregor doesn't get his legs chopped down, Dustin was eating his shots, so that fight probably does go a lot longer. I think. So yeah,
Yeah.
looking at over 2.5 at 6-5, I think it is at the minute, or 5-4. It's around that mark. So I really like that one. And then if you have a look at the previews on my Twitter, there's some other fun, bigger priced bets out there as well. If you want to
Yeah.
have a look at those.
I do like that over the rounds because even if you look historically at Conor's rematches, or at least the Nate one, which I think, he's going to try replicate in certain ways. He's going to maybe
Yeah,
try be a little bit, because he started very quick in both fights. In
yeah,
the first Nate fight, and now the second Poirier fight, he started very quickly and tried to get them out there quick. I don't think he's going to try to do the same thing. I think he's going to be more measured. I think Poirier is going to be a bit more measured too, because, as you said, he admitted that he did get hurt in the first round by a left hand. So he's going to be, and Poirier's going to know that he's going to have the advantage down the stretch as well
yeah,
with his cardio.
yeah.
So
There's a
yeah,
lot of
I like that.
there's a lot of interesting like game theory. I don't know if anyone's really nerdy into that in the tactics of this fight. It's like, well, what you do depends on what I do, and
Hmm.
what I do depends on what you do and stuff. So it's a game of chess, really. Like it's interesting as to how it might play out, I think.
Yeah,
And
and
and again, the point that comes back to is like, who would you trust in a chess match at the minute? Mike Brown in ATT, or John Kavanagh, or Conor McGregor, whoever's developing the game plan for this one.
I wonder. I wonder.
Yeah,
Yeah, and like, I mean, don't write off Connor in this fight. My official pick is Poirier. Um, but don't write off Connor, because every
yeah,
fight is a different fight, and we've seen him produce magic before. We've seen Poirier lose
yeah,
before. So, I mean, they both start standing, and it's a new
yeah,
fight.
exactly.
His leg is most likely, we assume, healed up. He doesn't have any injuries, and neither does Poirier. So it's a new fight.
Yeah,
And as you said, with the game theory, depending on what these two guys bring, the other guy's going to have to tackle that, and it's going to be
yeah.
very interesting to see what both guys bring.
Ah,
Um,
look, I couldn't blame any man looking at that McGregor price at the minute and going, geez, I haven't seen a price like that on McGregor in a long time,
yeah,
other than against Khabib, and that was for a reason. But like, yeah, he could come out, and it wouldn't even be shocking the world if he
no,
won. Like, so,
no.
yeah,
And how does then the kind of narrative of his career then change? Because right now he's
yeah,
I think most people, including myself, feel like he's gonna maybe become a celebrity fighter. Not necessarily fighting Jake Paul or anything, but he's gonna be fighting big names. He'll do the Nate Diaz rematch and stuff, but I don't think he's gonna go back to a title.
yeah.
A win over Dustin Poirier, this completely changes the division. Like, completely changes the division.
I think the winner of this fight gets a title shot.
Yeah,
So
he did. Yeah, and I mean, do you think that's a fight that Conor would want at this point? I think he does want a title bout, but I mean, there
Charles
is other
Oliveira,
option. Yeah, it's Charles Oliveira. Big fan, love Charles Oliveira, but it's not a Conor
yeah,
McGregor fight, is it? It's like, historically, it's
no,
not. But then
no.
again,
I mean, the Nate Diaz fight is bigger than that Charles Oliveira fight. Like,
yeah.
so,
So I would wonder if he would throw a spanner on that if he does win. But assuming what happens, or what I think happens, and Dustin Poirier wins, I'd be very interested in
yeah.
a Charles Oliveira fight. That's phenomenal.
Yeah, that's a brilliant fight. And I mean, if Dustin Poirier wins, that's 12 wins at lightweight.
Oh,
Um, he's in the
it's
conversation for
he is
Hall of
in,
Fame.
absolutely. Who do you consider the best active lightweight at the moment?
The best active lightweight at the minute.
Mm.
I think it's Dustin Poirier.
So do I.
I think he's
So
the
do I.
uncrowned champ at the minute. I mean, if McGregor didn't want this rematch, Dustin would have fought Charles for the belt and not
Yeah.
Michael Chandler.
Hmm.
So,
Exactly. I agree. Like, all credit to Charles Oliveira, amazing performance.
yeah, yeah,
Amazing few performances lately, but
yeah,
yeah, I think Dustin Poirier is the uncrowned champion at the moment, and if they can get that fight together, and whoever wins that, I mean, has a huge claim. Like, I mean, I think you can just. There's still people talking about Habib, but he's gone. But the winner of that
yeah.
fight
Dane
is,
obviously going to sleep thinking about Khabib coming
yeah,
back.
probably. Co-main event: Gilbert Burns versus Stephen Thompson. A lot of people excited for this, including myself. Two guys coming off different kind of runs at the moment. Gilbert Burns finally got that title fight, loses devastatingly to Kamaru Usman. Stephen
Mm.
Thompson had kind of been, I wouldn't say blackballed, but he's winning, but a title fight just didn't seem on the cards for him. But his last couple of performances have been extremely exciting and extremely impressive, in my opinion. So how do you see this coming? And one thing to note, that I always forget is Stephen Thompson's what, 38 years old. He
Yeah,
looks about 29 or something.
yeah.
So
He's such
yeah,
a
there is that.
fresh 38-year-old. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
if we're looking like that at 38, Rob, we're
Oh,
doing all right.
I'd be happy. Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be happy out.
Yeah.
How do I see this one going? I don't know. It's a really good fight, I think. Like, if you put the Kamaru Usman fight aside, Burns was on a tear at welterweight as well.
Yeah.
And I mean, looking at Wonderboy, the only guys he lost two boring fights to Tyron Woodley. Arguably won the first one. The second one was whatever, and then lost via Superman punch, if I remember right, to Anthony Pettis, which you could probably put down as an outlier given his last few performances.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
And given
like,
Pettis' last few performances.
yeah, exactly. Like, that fight hasn't aged well. So I don't know. I like Wonderboy coming into it, but I don't want to underestimate Burns. Given, like, he did have Kamaru Usman hunting that first round, and he just couldn't get him out of there. So probably, I mean, Burns, you would assume, is going to be rare in the go. And Wonderboy is going to want a title shot. Like, Wonderboy is the guy at the minute who everyone would look at Usman and go, well, we'd like to see that just to answer, just to scratch that itch, like, just to know.
I completely agree.
Because I always find it so hard to pick against Wonderboy, just because he is like that one puzzle pretty much in the UFC's roster that you're just like, I don't actually know how you beat him. He's just so tough to solve.
Yeah. And even in his losses, aside from the Anthony Pettis fight, they're all quite close. Like, the Darren Till fight was quite close, in my opinion. I think a lot of people thought he won. The Woodley fights were all very close. One went to a draw.
Yeah.
So he's this guy who's, I don't think there's many people lining up to fight Wonderboy. And I think that's been a problem lately, because he hasn't been able to get a fight. Gilbert Burns has stepped up, and I underestimate Gilbert Burns all the time. He's a phenomenal fighter, but I just do. There's my dog, don't mind. I'll maybe bring him on screen in a minute.
Get a few clicks.
Yeah, a few clicks. But yeah, I think he's there's not a lot of people lining up to fight Wonderboy, and I mean, this should be a number one contender fight, at least for Thompson, in my opinion. Burns, you can argue, because he lost devastatingly to Usman, but it should be for me. And I like Wonderboy in this one. I think his range fighting is excellent. I think Burns is gonna have a problem with that.
Yeah.
Fucking dog. And yeah, I'm picking Stephen Wonderboy Thompson.
Yeah, it's really not hard to envisage a Wonderboy decision win here, is it?
I was gonna get the dog. No. It's
Where
not.
he just range fights him for 3 rounds and outpoints him. What is it? What would we just go? 48, 40. Oh, what's the score after 3 rounds? Jeez, my brain. 30-27. Sorry, fucking hell. I haven't watched fights in 2 weeks. So I'm confused. Yeah, and just beats him 30-27. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's not hard to see. I mean, really, like a Burns win. What does it come by? Submission, probably.
Submission, or I think decision, where he outworks him on the floor. Every time I talk, that's when the dog is barking. Outworks him on the floor. But Burns has good takedowns, but not phenomenal takedowns. And Stephen Thompson has really good takedown defense. I could see one of those fights where Burns gets a takedown, or looks for a takedown, and it gets clinched up against the cage, and Burns can maybe do enough with pressure from the cage. I mean, I think anyone can win this fight. I just think Thompson's range fighting, when you go back and look at that Jeff Neal fight, and I know Jeff Neal hasn't been the most consistent fighter lately, but I just thought that was a great performance, and I can see him replicating something like that against Gilbert Burns, who likes to strike too. Let's remember, Gilbert Burns, yes, he's a jiu-jitsu guy, but he likes to strike. That's, so...
I don't think there's a whole pile of betting value here. I was talking with you on WhatsApp one day, and Wonderboy opened up a massive price in this fight in the Vegas odds. He opened up at like 27-20, and that's got hammered in by all the sharpies out there. Fair play to anyone who got that early action. I think the value's kind of gone now. I think a Wonderboy decision is the most likely win here. It's around 6-4. So if anyone is interested in that. But yeah, I think the value is generally gone in this fight now, with the prices having been pretty much corrected.
Yeah, we'll jump into the next brilliance fight on the card in 1 second. I'm going to grab my dog, and just give me 1 second.
Robert away to play with his dog. He's got so big since the last time I've seen him.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? There he is there, Alfie. don't know. I don't think I brought him on camera before. Look at him.
You're probably going to try and chew the microphone now.
Yeah. Down. That's him. Anyways, hopefully he doesn't chew some wires. But Taito Avasa versus Greg Hardy up next. I don't want to get too deep into this one, Sean.
I like this fight. I don't
You like
mind
Taito Avasa, that's why.
Yeah, I do. I think Taito Avasa is a bloke.
He is a bloke. It's fine, all right? It's fine. Greg Hardy on the feet is decent. He's actually quite good, in my opinion. I think he's quite good. If it stays on the feet, I think Greg Hardy has a chance. And I think it will stay on the feet. But also, I still think he's a very good athlete and he has picked up the striking very well, in my opinion, in his short career. But I still think Taito Avasa is a better fighter. You know?
Yeah, I agree. And to be fair, Taito Avasa has been working on his wrestling lately at AKA. Was for his last fight. I think if Taito Avasa lands on Greg Hardy, it's night. I think Tuivasa can probably eat some of Hardy's best shots and stay standing or survive. I'm not sure Hardy knocks him out. I am worried we might see one of those sloppy heavyweight fights that it goes 15 minutes and nobody has a good time. I think that could very well. Yeah, I think that could very well be the case here. So I wouldn't be looking to get involved in any of the KO prices. But if you want a back to go decision, you may as well make some money off not enjoying your life while that fight is on. Yeah, I think Tuivasa wins here. I'd love to see I think anytime Greg Hardy kind of has taken a step up so far in his career, he's kind of lost. And again, I don't doubt Hardy will continue to get wins at the heavyweight because he's that athletic heavyweight guy who's just going to get some wins. But I think Tuivasa should have enough for him here.
Yeah, I mean, if he takes it to the ground, Greg Hardy has been hasn't been very good on the ground. So, good point on Taito Avasa. It was AKA's working in these days. Yeah.
He was in the run-up to his last fight. And I remember DC
right.
having stuff up on his Instagram story with him there as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, if you can bring some of that in, I'll be all over that because, Greg Hardy looked terrible against Marcin Tybura. So, yeah. Irene Aldana against Yana Kunitskaya. I pick Taito Avasa. F it.
Good to know. I'm Tuivasa as well.
Yeah. Irene Aldana against Yana Kunitskaya. I mean, not a bunch to say about this. Aldana, I think they thought she was going to be a bit of a contender for Namajunas because... not Namajunas, for Nunes. It's been a few weeks since there's been fights. Because she had some really nice finishes. She had that left hook finish against Kaylin Vieira. And she had that good win over Vanessa Mello. But Holly Holm just kind of showed that Holly Holm is still here and that she's still one of the better fighters. And maybe we saw some of the deficiencies of Aldana's game. Kunitskaya has kind of floundered in the divisions. He's been up and down, been fine. It's not the most interesting fight. It's probably a bathroom break for a lot of people, Sean.
Oh, big time, yeah. This is this and the Hardy fight are probably two. These could be the fights where you go make your food.
Yeah, they could definitely be replaced by some prelim fights there. So what I'm going to do is, because they're not great, let's pick a prelim each. There you go. You pick one. Let's pick a prelim each to replace these two, and then we'll talk about the final main card. Bo.
Okay. Do you want to go first? You go first.
You have Nico Price.
Okay, yeah. There's a few in fairness. I want Nico Price and Michelle Pereira. Yeah.
That's a really good fight. And two really wild guys. That could turn out to be just a phenomenal fight.
Two fucking lunatics. Like that fight could just turn into a meme or something. Where it's just two fellas doing backflips in the cage or something like. I'm surprised actually that this one isn't leading into the main card at the very least. I thought this might be the headline prelim. I mean, the headline prelim is it's Sean O'Malley actually. The headline prelim is Max Griffin and Carlos Condit. Like, I mean, but anyway, back to Nico Price and Michelle. You are, yeah. Nico Price and Michelle Pereira is a fucking. If you like your violence, there you go.
Yeah, plenty of violence there. Or it could be just a strange fight where not a bunch happens because they're doing, as you said, doing backflips. Who'd you like in that fight? I'm slightly leaning towards Nico Price, but I think Michelle Pereira is the stronger guy. If he can kind of bully him a little bit, he might. But like Nico Price is just weird as well. But yeah, I'll lean Nico Price. Who are you leaning towards?
Michel Pereira's a big enough favourite. He's like 8-13, and Price is about 5-4. But I mean, the thing with Pereira is you wouldn't really fancy backing him at those odds, because he just might decide to do God knows what. So yeah, I'd look at the price. I'd have a go at Nico. See what I did there.
Very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Ryan Hall versus Ilia Topuria. I think the fucking phenomenal fight. Ryan Hall, not similar to Stephen Thompson, because Thompson had at least got some fights, but nobody wants to fight Ryan Hall because he's so awkward, so tough to beat, and he doesn't have a huge name. But Ilia Topuria is not the fight I think that Ryan Hall wanted, because Topuria is an excellent grappler too. I don't think he's Ryan Hall level's grappler, but he's a black belt, so it could be interesting if it goes to the floor. But he's developed a stand-up game, something else, and I think he can cause Hall a lot of problems if he can keep it on the feet, which, you know, Hall's takedowns aren't the best. We've seen him not be able to take down a lot of guys and was forced to strike with them. And he's shown some interesting stuff on the feet, Hall, against Darren Elkins, wasn't he? He was landing like spinning hook kicks and all against him.
Yeah.
Mad stuff. So I really like this one. I'd love to see, I mean, this is one I'd love to see on the main card, but, you know, we get to see it earlier, so good.
Yeah. I know you're a big Ryan Hall fan. Hell of a tough fight to take for Ryan Hall. Topuria looks like a real prospect. He's one of these like Eastern European guys who I just always find terrifying.
Yeah.
Kenny Florian in the corner for Ryan Hall as well. I was listening to him on the Anakin Florian podcast as well. So that's cool. We get to see Kenny in a UFC kid again.
Yeah.
Look, a big enough price on Ryan Hall. Like, I couldn't dissuade anyone from having a go there.
Yeah, well, I might have a bit of a poke on him. What's he? What price is he?
58.
That's, yeah, Jesus. Like, I mean,
donkey.
Yeah, I like it. Like, I'd probably pick Topuria slightly, but I mean, 15 to 8.
Again, it's a step up for Topuria as well.
Oh, it is, absolutely. And if it hits the floor, like, even though Topuria is phenomenal on the ground, and that's where his bread and butter was, I'd still, I mean, Ryan Hall's a beast, especially with his leg locks. Anyways, who'd you pick in that? Officially?
Fuck it, I'll go Ryan Hall.
Fuck it. Go Ryan Hall. To open the main card is Sean O'Malley against Chris Moutinho. Short notice for Chris Moutinho. I think they just wanted to get Sean O'Malley a fight after his fight fell through. I mean, there's not a bunch that we can say about breaking this one down.
It's a stinking fight.
Yeah, I assume Sean O'Malley's going to get a win, and the train rolls on.
Like, this looks like as close to a tune-up fight as you can get in MMA, really. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, when did his opponent fall out? So I can't really blame them too much.
Yeah, look, there's mitigating circumstances with the opponent falling out, but I mean, with all the bantamweights who are calling this out.
Yeah.
And if one of them, fair enough, some of them probably can't make 135, do the 140, do the catch weight.
Yeah.
Like, why are you signing some guy who's, what is he, like 9-2 or something?
Yeah.
9-4, who's like 2-2 in his last 4 or something, and like, of all the guys you could have got to fight Sean O'Malley, do it at a catch weight and get someone who the people would actually be interested in. This looks like a setup, really, to be honest.
I mean, you could also argue, like, I'm a fan of Louis Smoker, but I also thought that was a bit of a strange fight for Sean O'Malley at this point in his career. I thought, you know,
that wasn't great matchmaking either. Yeah,
so weird one. Anyways, that's it. That's the main card and a couple of the prelims. Let us know in the comments below who you pick in all these fights. We'd love to hear it. Keep the conversation going. Subscribe, like, all that stuff. And if you're watching on YouTube, go check us out on the podcast every week. Most weeks, every week. Find us at the MMA Movement Podcast everywhere. Link in the description below.